Hi everyone, here's our math problem for today. We are asked here to find the value of the definite integral from negative pi up to pi of the absolute value of pi minus the absolute value of x. Now, in order to solve this, we need to recall our definition of the absolute value of x. The absolute value of x is a piecewise function that is equivalent to x if x is greater than or equal to 0 or equal to negative x if x is less than 0 or negative. Now, notice that in our given definite integral here, the variable of integration is x. And we have here also the absolute value of x. That means we can now split the domain. One is for x is from 0 up to positive pi, and the other is from less than 0 up to negative pi. This endpoint is included. That is, we are going to find the definite integral from the lower limit of integration is negative pi, the upper limit of integration is pi. And this is our function that represents the height of the function. So, let's take a look now at our function here, the absolute value of pi minus the absolute value of x. We can evaluate this part here, the absolute value of x. So, we are going to analyze this. One for x is greater than or equal to 0, and the other is for x less than 0. If x is positive or 0, then this absolute value of x is simply equal to x. Therefore, that function becomes the absolute value of pi minus the absolute value of x when x is 0 is x. So we have here pi minus x. Whereas for the other part, when x is negative, then this function, the absolute value of pi minus the absolute value of x when x is less than 0 is negative x. So we have minus x. And this is simplified as the absolute value of pi plus x. Now, let's take values for x greater than or equal to 0. So if x equals 0, that means x is this point here. What is the value of the function? That becomes the absolute value of pi minus 0, which is equal to the absolute value of pi. So, when x is 0, y is pi. Now, if x equals pi, pi is greater than 0, so when x equals pi, then the absolute value of pi minus the value of x, which is now pi, is pi minus pi, which is equal to 0. And this is now the point. X is pi, y is 0, and we can now connect these 2 points. Now for the second part here, let's assign value also for x. If x equals, that is less than 0, take any value less than 0, let's say negative pi, then we can now evaluate this as the absolute value of pi plus x is negative pi, and therefore this is equal to the absolute value of 0, or 0. So, when x is negative pi, y is 0, and this is this point. And if you take values also here in between negative pi and 0, you'll notice that we are going to form also this straight line here. And both of them are absolute values. That means the value of the function would always be above the x-axis. And so we now form here a closed geometric figure, and to evaluate this definite integral is equivalent to finding the area under this curve. Specifically, we would like to find what is the area of this triangle with vertices at this point, and at that point. But we know that the formula for the area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. So this is now equal to 1/2. Our base here is this length. So you have pi at the left and pi at the right side of the 0. So that is equal to 2 pi. And our height is also pi. So 1/2 times 2 is 1. Pi times pi is pi squared. So our answer is the area of this triangle, which is equivalent to the solution to our definite integration problem, is pi squared. And therefore, this is now the value of this definite integral. So thank you very much, and we hope to see you again in our next video.